It seems history's greatest speaker put all his powers of persuasion to convince an audience of one, himself, to get past his grief and move on. And, says Cicero, it worked. Effigiam oris sermonis amini me. She's exactly like me, face, speech, heart, and soul. Cicero, Letter to Quintus, 1.3/3.3. Who was Tullia Ciceronis? As far as we can tell, she was an extraordinary woman who was born into extraordinary circumstances. Yet her life was not the fairy tale it should have been. Born in 78 BCE, Cicero's only daughter found herself widowed at age 20. She remarried at 22, then divorced and remarried again at 27, to a bad husband. That third marriage produced one stillbirth, little love, and a second divorce a few years later while Tullia was pregnant. In January 45, at the age of 32, she gave birth to a boy, but the baby did not live. The next month, Tullia herself died of complications at her father's country villa. Throughout this life of disappointments, Tullia radiated strength and resilience. Cicero repeatedly praised her fortitude, and even chose a strange word to describe it: virtus, greatness or manfulness, a word which, thanks to its root in the word for a man or hero, ver, had never been applied to a woman before. Cicero saw his daughter as a hero, a saint. When she died, therefore, he was sure she was in heaven, was up there, looking down, happy, safe, and waiting for him, that she, and eventually he, would live forever. All this sounds very Christian, and it is, in no small part because the Christian notion of heaven is indebted, like Cicero, more to Platonic philosophy than to Judaism from which it sprang. Regardless of our religion, though, these thoughts will be familiar to all of us who have lost a loved one. It has always been so, in the face of unremitting misery, as the Enlightenment thinker Voltaire asked in his Homily on Atheism. What position does there remain for us to take? It is not the one taken by all the scholars of antiquity in India, Chaldea, Greece, Rome, that of believing that God will cause us to pass from this unhappy life to a better one, which will be the development of our nature. Moreover, like so many bereft parents, Cicero resolved to build a shrine to his beloved daughter. Unlike most, however, he wanted the shrine to be an actual shrine, a church we would call it today, with Tullia herself literally worshipped as a god. He began making plans to make it happen, but it never came to pass. Perhaps such plans were just part of his grieving process. Fortis fortuna adiuat. Fortune favors fortitude. Roman proverb. Terence, Formio, 203, cited by Cicero. Stoicism, says Peter Breggin, is a philosophy for someone going down in an airplane. When Cicero needed help, he was going down in an airplane. He turned to the wisdom of ancient Greece for answers. In the weeks following Tullia's death, Cicero read and reread classic philosophical treatises on coping with grief. By his time, consolatory literature was an established genre. The finest examples to reach us are 3 letters by Seneca, a Stoic, and 2 by Plutarch, a Platonist. But those all lay generations in the future. In Cicero's time, the greatest guide to bereavement, cited several times in the text translated here, was a treatise by Crantor of Soli, 276 BCE. That treatise is lost today, but traces of it appear in later consolatory literature by Plutarch and Cicero himself, especially his Tusculan Disputations, which he wrote very soon after the Consolation. And we know enough about Crantor's treatise to realize its coping strategies and grief therapies are nothing like practices commonly recommended today. Grieving today is collective and often analyzed as a series of stages. For Crantor, as for the Stoics who refined his ideas, it is a matter of individuals finding the inner strength to accept reality, or comforting illusions and moving on. Cold logic will convince us that death